UFC Vegas 52. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. Main event, Jéssica Andrade returns to strawweight to fight Amanda Lemos. Great matchup there. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn those post notifications on and share the video as well. And let's jump right into the first fight of the night. It is between Dean Barry and Mike Jackson. This is not extremely high-level MMA, like UFC caliber, but Dean Barry is a full-time fighter. Mike Jackson is not. He has done striking competitions, I believe, in the time off from fighting in the UFC. Last bout was against CM Punk. Before that, he got killed by Mickey Gall. I'm picking Dean Barry to win the fight. He's actually a pretty impressive kickboxer. The guy is like a karate-esque style, really closes distance well. And I mean, he's a guy that can move quickly and deliver excellent kicks with a lot of precision, with a lot of speed. Jackson, we really don't know what to expect from him at 37 years of age. I think he's going to get slept here against Dean Barry. I don't think it's much of a close fight, and I mean, the lines are going to respect that, or excuse me, are going to reflect that as well. Dean Barry is a minus 800 favorite at best value, but he's upwards of minus 1,500. Mike Jackson, plus 750, plus 790. Huge underdog. Dean Barry should get the win. This reminds me of a fight on the Bellator prelims. That's crazy that we're seeing this starting off the night for the UFC. I don't expect a ton from Mike Jackson. I mean, he does have a Muay Thai striking background. He definitely knows martial arts, but he's not UFC caliber. Dean Barry's the full-time fighter. He's going to knock Mike Jackson out in the first or second round here. I don't think it'll be all that close. I think the kicks will do damage. I think the pressure. I think you're going to see some excellent straight shots land down the line and hurt Mike Jackson as well. We're going Dean Barry to win the first fight by KO. Weird first fight of the night. Next one is Marcin Prachnio versus Philipe Lins. Matchup here at 205. Lins is dropping down. 6 fights in a row for Philipe Lins have been canceled. He finally gets a matchup. Prachnio is a guy that I think Philipe Lins beats. I'm picking Philipe Lins to win this fight. Lins' kickboxing game is pretty technical. He moves well. He's, especially at heavyweight, he's known as a guy that's fairly quick for the weight class. Now coming down to 205, I still expect him to do fairly well against especially these back-end guys like Marcin Prachnio. Prachnio's a pretty quick kickboxer. He likes to bang and sometimes gets a bit overzealous. He's really not a guy that moves his head a ton. Philipe Lins does a pretty decent job at keeping the head off the center line, throwing straight shots to enter range. He's patient with the pressure. And I really like how he picks his shots overall. Solid on the ground, too. I think he's overall a better martial artist than Marcin Prachnio. If he gets involved in a crazy brawl, Prachnio could always have a chance to land a knockout shot, but I don't think it's super likely. I actually think Philipe Lins is going to win by KO here. I'm thinking he knocks out Marcin in the second round, maybe the third as well, but I like inside of the distance Philipe Lins. I think he's the better technical striker. I think he's superior on the floor, and Prachnio's a guy that sometimes will just brawl, and I see him getting touched up by Philipe. Lins is a slight underdog, minus 105, upwards of plus 106 for Lins. Prachnio, minus 115 as the close money favorite. Pretty much a pick'ems here. I like the Philipe Lins side to get his first UFC win. Snap that 2-fight losing streak as well. Aoriqileng versus Cameron Else. Matchup here in the flyweight division. I'm picking the Aoriqileng side. He's a pretty solid pressure brawler, I would say. Definitely has heavy hands, and he's an athletic guy. On the opposite side of him, Cameron Else, pretty confident with his stand-up game. Actually has a submission win over Paddy Pimblett. Does have submission skills. You look, I mean, his record is usually him finishing fights. He's got 5 wins by subs, 5 wins by knockout. Quilong is a guy who's willing to get into a brawl. I think he'll have a lot of success. I see a speed advantage for Aoriqileng. I think he definitely hits harder of the two. I'm not worried about the ground game of Cameron Else here. I think Quilong is going to land some excellent punches, is going to work some very good pressure and slowly wear on and break Cameron Else. I think we're going to see a TKO in the third round for Aoriqileng, potentially even against the cage. Combination starts are going to start landing. I think Else will potentially gas. We're going to see W on the Mongolian Murderer side. It is a pretty sick nickname, the Mongolian Murderer. Minus 225 for Aoriqileng. For Cameron Else, he's at about plus 200 as the dog. I think the Quilong side win by KO is pretty damn likely here. I'm not super high on Cameron Else. I feel like he has decent hooks in close range, but Quilong is better. I think Quilong hits harder. I think he's going to put a high pace on him. Also, way experience edge for the Quilong side. I like him for the win here, and I do think he's going to get it done by a KO. Thinking third round, though. I think he's going to take a couple rounds to wear him out, and it'll be a bit of a brawl early, and then win for Aoriqileng by KO later. Tyson Pedro versus Ike Villanueva. I'm going to be picking Tyson Pedro here. He's returning from a very long layoff, almost 3.5 years. It was a loss to Shogun Rua in the third round. He had decent moments in that fight. Tyson Pedro is actually not a bad stand-up fighter. I mean, from, what we've seen, nearly 3.5 years ago, he was starting to develop a decent kickboxing game. Really, with his submissions is where he's going to shine the most. Opposite side him is a bit of a one-dimensional brawler in Ike Villanueva, a guy who likes to sit in the pocket and mix it up. He has good hooks. He'll throw flurries of them. He wants to sit down and exchange. Tyson Pedro, if he's not fighting smart and he gets too close, doesn't use his range advantage, doesn't look to mix in takedowns, I do think Ike Villanueva has the power to do some damage here. I mean, you look at the lines, they're very wide towards Pedro. He's about a minus 450 favorite, best value. Villanueva plus 444, but he hasn't fought in such a long time, whereas Ike Villanueva in the past, 2 years has fought 5 times in the UFC. Yes, he's 1-4 in the UFC, but he brawls and he makes fights entertaining. I mean, the Nick Negumereanu fight was kind of a quick end. He got stopped, and it was back of the head shots too. But against Marcin Prachnio, he was winning. And he was pressing, and he was landing good hooks. And I feel like if you don't respect Ike Villanueva's power standing and Pedro gets a little bit too confident, he is a guy that stands a bit tall. There could be something over the top that lands. I don't think it's super likely. I think it's pretty likely that we're going to see Ike Villanueva mix in some grappling. From range, he'll throw some decent straights. When he gets in close, also, I really like his tie clinch knees, but I see him getting on top of Ike, and I do see a submission for the Tyson Pedro side. I'm thinking second round submission here. Could see it also happening in the first, but definitely thinking that Pedro gets it done by a sub. I believe that Ike Villanueva will come at him hard. I feel like Pedro might time some takedowns, maybe land some beautiful straights, and then get on top, do his thing, lock up a submission. This guy's dangerous with just some joint submissions, chokes. On the floor, Tyson Pedro is vastly superior to Ike Villanueva. Where he gets in trouble is if he gets overconfident and wants to stand up and bang with him. Tyson Pedro win via submission here. Next fight of the night. Dwight Grant versus Sergey Khandozhko. Khandozhko. Sergey Khandozhko. That's a difficult last name to pronounce, and if I'm botching it, I apologize. I think Dwight Grant is going to get a win, though, because Sergey has not fought in a fair amount of time. 2.5 years. We got a lot of guys on this card coming off on layoffs. Dwight Grant, even at 37, is still pretty athletic and quick. I think he has a clear-cut boxing advantage over Sergey. Sergey's a guy that stands a bit tall. He gets hit with a good amount of strikes. I see Dwight Grant as an explosive puncher. I definitely think he could do some damage. Also, he has okay wrestling chops. Not known for the wrestling, but does have takedown ability. I think he's going to look to take Sergey to the floor in this matchup. Sergey, I mean, he's a solid kickboxer, a guy that likes to fight well from long range. His favorite shots tend to be like long, wide hooks, trying to get close to his opponents, but when he's close to them, he seems to get touched up. There seems like speed advantage towards the Dwight Grant side. I really think his hands are going to fly nicely here. Sergey, though, seems to be durable. I'm going to go Dwight Grant, working towards a decision. Look for him to mix in takedowns, but really watch out for him in close range with the hooks. I think he can land some excellent combinations and could hurt Sergey as well. But Dwight Grant for the win here. I got the body snatcher. Maybe he'll rip him with some body shots against the cage too. Dwight Grant is actually a slight plus money. He's upwards of plus 103. Sergey is minus 110 at best value. I'm not sold on Sergey. From what I've seen, he's okay. I mean, his ability there. But Dwight Grant has proven time and time again, like even if he's not top UFC level, he's UFC caliber. I think Dwight Grant for the W, even at 37. I think he's going to beat Sergey coming off the layoff. And I do think probably a decision here. Next fight of the night. Jourdain Wright versus Marc-Andre Barriault. Catchweight, 190 pounds. Barriault steps in on short notice. It's such a tricky matchup, man. I'm going to be picking the Barriault side, but Jourdain Wright is not a guy to be slept on standing up. He's extremely long, 6'2", 77-inch reach, very quick. He has that Dutch style of kickboxing. He trains with Anthony Hardonk. He's his prize student. He's this guy that he's got in the UFC looking to make a run. And I mean, you look at Jourdain Wright, even in the loss against Bruno Silva, he hurt Bruno pretty bad in that fight. I mean, if he can land, his offense is excellent. But the problem with Jourdain Wright is he eats a ton of shots. He takes a fucking ton of damage, and Marc-Andre Barriault is pretty defensively sound, a guy that can put, a patient pace on you, but slowly break you down. I think Barriault's going to land some decent strikes. I actually think Jourdain Wright can survive past the first round, and he might even steal the first round because he does seem to be the quicker striker of the two. Would it be a bad idea for Barriault to try to wrestle? Probably not. I think if he can slowly press inside of Jourdain Wright is where he's going to find a lot of success. There's never been questions about the Barriault chin, but against Chidi and Njokuani, he was knocked out extremely quick. I don't think it's a repeat of that fight. I don't think Jourdain Wright is going to go out there and snipe him from early on in this fight. I think Jourdain Wright's defense is a huge hole in his game. The chin is way too high, and I think Marc-Andre Barriault is going to stop him. I'm thinking second round KO for Marc-Andre Barriault. As far as the line here, Marc-Andre Barriault's minus 150 at best value, and Jourdain Wright plus 144 as the underdog. I like the Marc-Andre Barriault side for the W, and I do think he's going to do it by a knockout. It's hard to see Jourdain Wright going distance and winning or losing a fight. It's kill or be killed, and I think he's getting killed in this fight by Marc-Andre Barriault. Next fight jumps us towards the main card. Make sure you guys smash that like button and subscribe if you are new. Great fight to start it off on the main card. It's Charles Air Jourdain versus Lando Groovy Vannata. I am on the Lando Vannata side. Charles Jourdain is a guy that's had close fights with lesser competition. He's riding a bit of a high right now with the win over Andre Ewell, but Ewell is no longer even in the UFC. Lando Vannata is a tricky matchup for a lot of guys standing up, and Charles Jourdain is a kickboxer. Vannata has a unique striking style. He's very quick and athletic. He has awkward attacks that he'll throw, good knees, very solid with the kicks and punches, and strings his shots together pretty well. He's always been a guy that his stand-up I've held in high regard. He just hasn't always been able to put it together. At 145, he looks really good, and I think that his front kicks are a problem. I think he's going to be quicker than Charles Jourdain. Jourdain is a skilled striker with that patient pressure style, but when fights start going, he is down for a brawl. Charles Jourdain is a guy that can be involved in very entertaining fights, has excellent hooks in close range, very good knees up the center, good straight punches. Slowly pressing in, I think Vannata can actually do some damage to him. Vannata's got a little bit of a longer reach, so I don't really think reach is going to be much of a factor in this fight. I do think it's going to be a bit of a firefight. I think both these guys are going to go after it, and it might be fight of the night type matchup here. I think Vannata lands the more significant strikes. I think Vannata wins by decision, and honestly, don't sleep on Vannata mixing in a bit of wrestling. He's probably going to time a couple takedowns there, get on top of Jourdain, even if it's just for landing the takedown and they get right back up to his feet. The threat is going to be there, which is going to limit the striking of Jourdain a bit, and then I think Lando Vannata will even have more success standing up. So I like Groovy Vannata for the win, and I do think he's going to do it by a decision. He's an underdog, plus 120. Charles Jourdain, minus 127, but look at strength of schedule. The last 5, lost to Andre Fili, split decision. Jourdain, not a terrible loss. Draw with Josh Culibao, that's not a great fight. Marcelo Roja, win by KO. Lost to Julian Rosa, win against Andre Ewell. You look at this one, beat Mike Grundy on a split decision. Mike Grundy, I know he quickly got finished by Amir Khani, but that's a submission fighter in Amir Khani, and Grundy's more of the wrestling base. Bobby Green, he goes distance. Yancy Medeiros, he beats him. Mark Jacasey, he goes distance and makes it competitive. Marcos Mariano gets a win. For me, Lando Vannata has a lot stronger strength of schedule. He's a guy that looks to be coming into his own at 145, and he's only 30 years of age. So Vannata right now is hitting his prime. Who knows? He could make a run and live up to that expectation that was kind of there early on. I'm going Lando Vannata for the win, and I do think by a decision over Charles Air Jourdain in a potential fight of the night matchup. Next fight of the night. Mudaerji versus Manel Kape. Good fight here. Flyweight contender battle ultimately between these two. I am going to be picking the side of Mudaerji. I feel like the difference is going to be distance management. Sue is a lot taller, 3 inches taller. I guess not a lot, but at flyweight, that's a difference. 5'8", 5'5". 72-inch reach, 68. Sue is also a guy that controls distance very well, and he fights well from that long range. Very quick and stiff jab. He moves in and out of range very well. He's going to keep his opponents away from him. Good low kicks, pretty quick straight shots, fights out of the southpaw stance. On the opposite side, Manel Kape is also a southpaw. So it's going to be interesting to see the southpaw versus southpaw fight here. With Manel Kape, he's a guy that's comfortable out of both stances, very quick with his strikes, extremely athletic guy, knockout power, nice flying knees. I mean, that's, I don't think, going to be high likelihood of success against Sue here because Sue is going to be a lot taller and longer. Manel Kape's going to have to really press a lot here, and I think Sue is going to keep him away from him for the most part. If they get in close, I don't doubt Mudaerji's grappling defense. I'm not super impressed with Manel Kape offensively with the wrestling. I don't see him taking down Sue, controlling him, and winning a decision with grappling. I think it's going to be stand-up, and in the stand-up, I think that it's going to be a very competitive technical kickboxing matchup where Mudaerji wins 2 rounds to 3, or excuse me, 2 rounds to 1, 2 out of the 3 rounds, and he gets himself a win by a decision over Manel Kape. As far as the line, Sue is a big underdog, plus 153. Manel Kape, minus 162. I like the underdog Mudaerji here. I think it's an extremely close matchup, but I like the range. Kickboxer from range versus Manel Kape. I think this is Sue's fight to win here. I'm going to think he gets it done as an underdog. Good matchup. Next fight, the ladies going after it here. Maycee Barber versus Montana de la Rosa. I like this fight. For Maycee Barber, I believe it should be 3-fight losing streak. I'll tell you guys out the gate. Now, I am still picking Maycee Barber to win. I know she's coming off a controversial one over Miranda Maverick, but she's 23. She's improving drastically each and every fight. With Miranda Barber, I would say she's a pretty solid, I said Miranda Barber, Maycee Barber. She's a pretty solid fighter overall at this point, really developing her game. Quick, athletic girl, though. Good stance switches, solid straight shots, will enter range extremely well. Very light on her feet. A girl that's strong in the clinch and has a solid grappling game. And when she works from close range, she can do some damage. Not necessarily a huge finisher, but she can definitely do some damage. I feel like with Montana de la Rosa, she's going to want to get this fight to the floor. And I think Maycee Barber is very competitive with her in the grappling exchanges. I think Maycee Barber's striking is more dynamic than Montana de la Rosa, who has more of your typical high guard kickboxing style. She's going to look to level change. She'll strike a bit to try to set up takedowns. When she's on top, she controls fairly well and will work from the top, but she's no, queen of ground and pound. She's not unloading with damaging shots for the most part. She'll control from the top, maybe work for submissions if there's an opportunity opening. I still think Maycee Barber gets it done. I think it's going to be a competitive fight. I think Maycee Barber is going to have to fend off some takedowns. I think striking, she has the edge. I think she's definitely the quicker girl of the two. And I think Maycee Barber win by a decision over Montana de la Rosa in this matchup. As far as the lines, Barber is the favorite, minus 186. Montana de la Rosa, plus 169. I like Maycee Barber to get herself a W here, and I think a rightful W. That Miranda Maverick fight was a controversial decision. I think Maycee gets a legit win in this matchup over Montana de la Rosa. This next one was our featured bout of the night, and unfortunately, it seems to be canceled. It was between Tanner Boser and Alexander Romanov. I will note this, with the fight being canceled, I'll still give my pick, though. It's going to be Alexander Romanov to win. Potentially a hard-fought decision, though, because Tanner Boser is a relentless guy and a guy I got a ton of respect for. But I was picking Romanov here. Unfortunately, not getting this matchup. But the co-main event of the evening, it is between Guida and Claudio Puelles. I really like this fight. And it's one that you really got to sit down on. And the more I sat on it, I feel like you got to go with Guida here. Claudio Puelles what he does well, I mean, he's a long southpaw, not super long, but he does have an advantage in the height in this fight. Pretty good left body kick. He's a guy that will normally look to get fights to the floor, work from the top position. He's a guy with really good Brazilian jiu-jitsu, guy from the top position that's good at controlling. The problem is Claudio Puelles has mediocre wrestling. He'll look for takedowns and land takedowns, but he's not a great offensive wrestler. He has spotty level changes, to say the least. That's how I'll review his takedowns. Whereas Clay Guida is an absolute beast of a wrestler. He's a guy with a very high pace of fight, lots of movement and feints. At 40 years old, he doesn't seem to have slowed down. He makes fights super entertaining to this day, and he's a fan favorite for sure. He'll enter with straight shots. Sometimes he'll rip some hooks in close range. Very fast. He's going to look to press, probably play us a bit against the cage and unload combos. I could see Clay Guida timing some takedowns and getting on top of Claudio Puelles. I think Clay Guida overall, the better fighter, and just a really hard stylistic matchup for the young Claudio Puelles here. 11-2, 37-21. That's a ton of experience difference, and I think Clay Guida is a legit problem in this fight. Wins a decision, though. Puelles isn't going to have the wrestling. When he's forced to stand up with Clay, I think Clay's going to land some good punches. He's the quicker guy. I see Puelles with, yes, good body kicks, pretty decent from range, but I think Clay Guida is actually going to get a lot of success with overhand punches and fighting from close range, ripping to the body. So watch out for those attacks from Clay Guida. I like Clay Guida for the win. I'm going to pick him, though, to win a decision. I think we're going the full 3 here. Close money about pick'ems. Guida -102, Claudio Puelles -104. It's an even Stevens. This is a pick'ems matchup here, and I am on the side of Clay Guida to win the co-main event at 40 years of age against a young protege and Claudio Puelles. I think Guida has the style to beat this fighter here. Main event of the evening, Amanda Lemos versus Jéssica Andrade. The ladies going after it here in the 15-pound division. Make sure you guys smash that like button if you have not yet. And if you're new, subscribe. Jéssica Andrade returns to 115, which is a genius idea. She's 1-1 with the champion, Rose Namajunas. She's a nightmare matchup for pretty much every girl in this weight class. I mean, she has a loss to Zhang Wei Li. That loss to me at this point could be ran back at any time. Wei Li's no longer the champion. Having a win over Rose Namajunas, a win now over Amanda Lemos sets a lot of things up. I like the Jéssica Andrade side. It's extremely hard to pick against her. Andrade is an absolute powerhouse. She has excellent hooks entering range. She'll sometimes sprint at her opponents with hooks, ripping shots. She's like the female John Lineker, and that style works so well for women's MMA. Lemos is a girl that's more looking to snipe you. She has that sniper striking style, lead hand low, fights well from the distance. I think that's a horrible matchup for Jéssica Andrade, who likes to get right in your face and do it from the start. I think she's going to put a high pressure and pace on Amanda Lemos. Lemos is going to have to fight so hard just to even keep up with Jéssica Andrade. I could see Lemos being gassed going on later in the fight. I think Andrade is going to wear her down. I think she's going to rip to the body. She's very physically strong. Won't be surprised if she mixes in some takedowns. She's thrown plenty of girls. And I mean, if Andrade gets on top, she has some good ground and pound. Lemos, I think her best bet to win this fight is going to be essentially playing near the fence and just circling majority and trying to outsnipe Andrade. Don't get into a brawl with Jéssica Andrade. I don't think Lemos has the technical tools to do that, nor does she have the athleticism. Note this, Amanda Lemos is 4 years older than Jéssica Andrade as well. Andrade is just entering the prime now, and she has a ton of experience. I think she's a problem here at 115. I see her as a contender 100%. I think she's going to stop Amanda Lemos in the second round in brutal fashion. This should be very one-sided between these two. As far as the lines, Lemos is a dog, plus 165. Jéssica Andrade, the favorite, minus 172. I like the Jéssica Andrade side a ton. I'm so excited to see her let her hands go at 115. I think she's going to rip some great punches, rip to the body, come high. Lemos with that lead hand low. I see overhand shots landing right on the chin. And I think Lemos will take some during the first, but the more that land, she's going to be broken down. And I think in the second round, they're about calling it. Jéssica Andrade win knockout in one-sided fashion. Now, overall, I would say this is a pretty mediocre card, guys. And I unfortunately have to say that. I hate saying it, but it really doesn't have fantastic fights throughout. I mean, we got Dean Barry and Mike Jackson in the first fight of the night, which makes things weird. Tyson Pedro coming back, I'm excited for. Decent matchups, Vannata versus Jourdain. Kape versus Mudaerji. Maycee Barber, De La Rosa is a cool fight. Unfortunately, we lost the heavyweight matchup. The Clay Guida fight is always fun to watch Clay in there, and then Andrade at the top is going to be great. I think we're in store for good action, though. As far as name value, this is a mediocre card. But as far as potential for violent fights, definitely a card you want to watch. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the full card breakdown. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of the picks. Make sure to smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn those post notifications on and share the video as well. And I will see you all in the next one. Peace, guys.